Hello, my name is Pete Gerlach. I am a veteran family systems therapist, and I've been specializing in recovery from early childhood trauma for the last 22 years. This is one of a series of videos I want to pass on to you the key things that I've learned in 50 years as an adult and 33 years as a therapist. This particular video has been prompted by a number of my clients and students and the people around me recently labeling themselves as lazy, and or they comment sarcastically about somebody they know who goes, oh well, she or he is just lazy. That's a pejorative term, meaning it's blameful. It creates shame and guilt and resentment and anxiety. So I'd like to focus in this brief video on what is laziness, and if you're using that label on yourself or someone else, what's the truth about laziness? Would you agree, have you been taught that people who are industrious, who are hardworking, who apply themselves, are respectable, and that people who don't do those things, alias who are, quote, lazy, are not respectable? Is that what you were taught? Think of someone that you think is, quote, lazy. Do you respect them? Just notice your reaction. Has anyone recently, anyone that you care about, has anyone called you lazy? How about, have you labeled yourself as lazy? No, I'm just lazy. Ever said that? It's a kind of a put down. How does that feel? What does laziness mean? Imagine a bright 7-year-old approaches you and says, hey, I heard this word lazy. What is lazy? Tell me what laziness is. How would you answer that young child's question? What would you say? I've done a lot of thinking and some research on this. I wasn't clear myself. What I now believe is laziness is a code word. It stands for several things. The first it can mean is just general physical inactivity. Well, she's lazy. She just lays around, watches television, naps, plays with the cat, doesn't do anything meaningful. She's just physically inactive. That's one meaning. Another meaning can be he or she is lazy can mean that person isn't developing or using their talents. They are apathetic, unmotivated, and lazy. You know anybody like that? A third meaning that can be attached to laziness, the label laziness, is avoiding doing what's right. I know I should take a stand on gun control. I know I should make my stand known regardless of the reaction that it will get. But, well, it's just too much work and I don't want to go through the hassle, and so I don't. Does that qualify as laziness for you? Whatever you think laziness means, would you agree that it is something that makes people feel bad about themselves or each other? Now that we've established what is laziness, let's take a look under the hood and say, what causes this symptom? Laziness is a symptom of something. Do you know what it is? Many people don't. Being lazy, in my opinion, as a veteran therapist, is a symptom of one or more of three things. Low self-confidence. That is a fancy way of saying shame. I'm no good. I don't think I can do it. I'm not good enough. I'm not talented enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not bright enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm lazy means I don't have any self-confidence. It can also come from another root of laziness is fear. How normal is that? Think of the last thing that you registered you were fearful of or anxious about. Fears are normal protective reactions in children and adults. We all have them. We can fear failure. Think of the last time you failed. Remember what that felt like? We can have fear of the unknown. Gee, if I get off the couch and go do something, if I join an artist's league, I don't know what that's going to mean. Maybe I'll be embarrassed. Maybe they'll reject me. Fear of the unknown. People, you may know someone like this who's also afraid of success. My gosh, if I succeed, what would that mean? I'd have to change something. I'd have to do something with myself. Oh. A third root I propose of laziness can be broadly called psychological paralysis. That is a complex way of saying the personality subcells that control your personality are conflicted and they're pulling against each other. Do this. No, don't do that. And the net result is a feeling of overwhelm and paralysis where you wind up doing nothing. You ever had that happen to you? Temporarily or even chronically? Feeling overwhelmed and paralyzed? That comes from personality subcells who are not well coordinated and who do not trust your true self. That is a subject I'm not going to go into here, but all the videos in Lesson 1, Playlist 1B and 1C in my website, my channels, go into a good deal of detail about meeting and negotiating with the subcells that make up your personality. So, I propose laziness by itself is not a chosen trait. It's not something you can reason away. It's caused by low self-confidence or shame, sometimes guilt that goes along with that, several fears, and psychological, emotional paralysis. Those three things can cause inactivity, apathy, lack of motivation, and just lying around doing, quote, nothing. Does this make sense to you? If it does, if you know someone who's lazy, start rethinking your opinion of them. What are some implications of what I just said? The first is laziness is not, underline not, a character flaw that can be changed by willpower. Generally, it cannot. Okay? It deserves empathy and compassion, not scorn. Try that out. He or she is lazy. She is wounded, unmotivated, and has a dysfunctional family. Oh. If you are lazy, what I'd recommend is assess yourself with compassion for psychological wounds you may have inherited from your ancestors. Other videos describe what these wounds are and how to tell if you have them. If you have significant wounds in your own judgment, work to reduce them over time. I'll show you a link in a minute of how to do that. Reduce your wounds over time and free your wise, true self to guide your life. That will reduce the shame and the fear and the confusion and the paralysis that may cause your, quote, laziness, unquote. The second thing you can pay attention to, if you think you are lazy, or someone does, take a critical look, meaning constructive look, at the nurturance level of your family. I'm not going to go into detail here. Other videos in Lesson 5 tell you all about what is a functional family and how can you tell if yours is functional or not, or how functional it is. So look at your family. If you're living in, or if you came from, a dysfunctional family, that's one root of laziness. You don't have to put up with that. You have some options. So I invite you to see Lesson 5 in my website to find out what those options are. A couple of other quick implications. If you're in a work setting and you say, oh, I have a lazy employee. No, you don't. You have someone who inherited psychological wounds, who may be working for psychologically wounded managers or supervisors, and who is living or working in a dysfunctional or a low nurturance work environment. The problem is wounded managers and a low nurturance work environment, not the employee. Notice how you feel about that. If you have a lazy child, it's not the child's fault. It's the child has inherited psychological wounds through no fault of his own or his caregivers. The child is wounded and doesn't know that and doesn't know what to do about it, and is apathetic and scared and shamed and guilty, not lazy. Notice how that feels. A final implication: if you yourself think you're lazy or someone else does, avoid lecturing, moralizing, blaming, and explaining. These will not change the root causes. Lecturing and moralizing won't reduce shame. In fact, it will increase it. So if laziness is part of your social problem set, avoid lecturing, explaining, and moralizing. It makes things worse. Notice what you're thinking and feeling right now and pause. Why did you watch this video? What was the reason? What were you looking for? Have you gotten at least part of what you were looking for? I hope so. You've heard me mention several times lesson 1 in this video and others. If you want to find out how to reduce the 3 causes I mentioned of, quote, laziness, I compassionately urge you, study my online ad-free self-improvement educational lesson. It will show you how to understand your personality subselves, how to negotiate with them and get them to make constructive changes. Lesson 1. Here's the web link, the URL to that lesson. I encourage you to try it out. Please know that all the videos on my channel are subsets. They're summaries of information on my website. So rather than study the videos first, I encourage you to study the website first. They will lead you, articles in the website will lead you to these videos. The videos don't stand alone. So do take a look at lesson 1, see what you find, and rethink the label laziness. That's the whole point of this video. It's a symptom of a problem. It's not the problem itself. As always, I appreciate your time in watching this. I hope you found it thought-provoking and useful. And I'm very pleased to receive any kind of comments you have on this video or any other, or comments or suggestions on my website, sfhelp.org, O-R-G. I hope you can find some value in putting this video and the others to work. Thanks for watching.